So go ahead and open it up here now that we're recording. This call is going to be about diffusion of innovations and really using that as a framework for how to communicate with different people in your market, people that could be considered stakeholders, whether it be clients, employees, contractors, whoever it is. It could be friends, colleagues. A lot of what I'm focusing on right now is really relationship building as part of this kind of weekly series of calls. Joshua, you were on the last one. I'll just go ahead and kind of catch you up a little bit because we were going through the pull method for web design, which I do am still open to going through calls like that with you or whoever else might be interested. I'm just going to make them a separate kind of call structure because it's a different thing. And this is really these week to week Friday calls are going to be more focused around um, just like developing some of the core fundamentals around building a business that helps protect your love for the craft, which is a really big part of my mission and what I'm doing here. It's what lights me up, it's what gives me energy, and I've got people. They're also community leaders like Scott and Bree, for example. Like they're running communities that are running very similar missions too. So building through this decentralized community structure here where we can all kind of collaborate and grow and leverage that collective momentum is really a big part of why I'm here and why I'm doing this. Plus, it's a lot of fun. Scott, you never told me how much fun community building was, and I'm really enjoying it. It's been a good time. So, anyway, all that aside, I'm just going to hop in. There's just a couple updates. I won't go through a lot of time with this, but let me find my share screen here. Uh, okay, so just a couple events. Right now, we're on this event today. I do want to point out, like, I am kind of balancing or kind of going back and forth between some times on Fridays. Like this week, it's 9 a.m. Next week, it'll be 11 a.m., all Eastern time. So just trying to get a feel for what time seems to, align with people. Fridays are really my days to reflect and communicate and collaborate with people. So it really doesn't matter what time of the day it is for me personally. I just want to be able to provide some flexibility there. This monthly review event, this is something that something I'm doing for myself. So I figured why not bring it to the conversation here is just a look back, just a reflection on the month, just to see, kind of take stock for a minute and see what's going on in your life and your business and do some reflection work here. So that's what next or the six is going to be. It's going to be mostly looking back in May and doing some reflection. Uh, We've got an event on June 9th, Monday, with myself, Bree, and Scott. Scott's going to be talking about forever offers. So this is going to be something I'm like in the midst of offer creation myself. So I'm like really interested in hearing more about what Scott has to say here. And I love the concept of forever offer because it can be a really big pain and drain on your energy to have to feel like you're constantly switching what you're doing and how you're building. And it's like what can be that golden thread that you can weave through your entire life into your legacy. And that's how at least I understand it. And I'm really interested in diving exploring more of this with Scott on June 9th. So this is a business for nerds. Bree's kind of pulling this together. So we're going to have some Q&A and talk about forever offers. So definitely would love to see you there. By the way, on this event directory, if you click register, this actually takes you to their external registration page. So, because this is technically it's an event that is hosted by another community. So that's why we kind of link out there. All right, so that's events. Gravity Web Studios got a new website. And the reason I want to show this to you is because I want to emphasize the simplicity of what a website can be. And I want to use this as just a quick learning lesson. And it also, I think, is a good lead into talking about diffusion of innovations. Because something I've learned about myself is that I don't do so well with like the general public and kind of speaking to the masses. I've just over time have come to learn that my best work and with the people I work best with are people who are either trusted partners, established clients, people who really know me and I know them and we get each other. So I've really shifted this to be, we are a boutique web design provider. We work exclusively through trusted partners, established clients, basically people I know. This is who we focus on. If you want my help, here's my email. And this is the website. And there's some stuff and work we've done, and there's my email. And that's it. That's the whole website. And it's very simple for me being kind of going back to like how you align goals. Like somebody comes to me and say, "Hey, I want to build this website." Well, the first question is, well, what's your goal? Like, what are you trying to accomplish here? And all I'm trying to accomplish is just to provide a very simple place where if somebody happens to recommend me and they want to see a little bit about my work and how to get in touch with me and what I do, they can just go here. There's really nothing else that they can do other than to get a glimpse of my work and an email to reach out to me. And then from there we have the conversation and we explore what else can happen. So of course, my developer likes to add some little fanciness there. I didn't even know that was even there. That's kind of cool. So new website. And that is all the housekeeping I have. And I want to talk about diffusion of innovation. First off, everybody raise your hand like you understand what this concept is. You've seen the diffusion curve. I'll just take a brief moment to kind of go through like what this is. I first learned about this back when, and Scott and I, this is kind of back when him and I first crossed paths in the Guardian Academy. And, there was really, kind of a really focused on Web3 and crypto at the time. There was also a lot of personal development stuff, which is what I think attracted both Scott and I to it because it was like, hey, this is really great. We're like learning how to grow and build ourselves, and we're having some really good conversations. Um, but it was also like in a very like disruptive technological kind of field. And so there was conversations around diffusion of innovation. There's a book that's written by Everett Rogers that talks about this. Full disclaimer, I've never read the book. Maybe one day I will. It looks like it's very dense and yeah, it's a pretty thick book. Maybe I'll check it out sometime. But the general concept of it is that there's these different stages of how ideas kind of spread, as things kind of evolve with the innovation. And you've got, over here, you've got your innovators, and then you have your early adopters, and then there's some kind of chasm that has to be crossed before that innovation is really ready for the early and late majority. And then you have your laggards. These are like the people who never really adopt the technology. It's like think of your grandfather that still uses a landline, or the old high school friend that never got on social media. They just never adopted it. It's just that's your laggards. Um, the thing that's interesting about this, because it's like at first glance, you think that this is about technology, and it plays a lot into it, but you can really take this and apply it to even your own business. And this is the connection that I personally made that I felt was really, really helpful in how I kind of orient myself, especially when I'm bringing new ideas, new offers, and what so forth to the table with people that I'm working with. And I'll explain exactly what I mean by that here in a minute, and then we'll have some open conversation. Before that, I want to bring something to the table, and I want to ask, kind of survey the group here for a second. Have you ever had like an idea, something new that you want to do, and you just start sharing it with everybody, and then you start getting kind of the haters? They just kind of come out of the woodworks and they start scrutinizing it and they start throwing rocks at your idea, and it makes you feel, you start kind of second guessing yourself. Like raise your hand, like has that ever happened to you? Anybody? Like right, like Bree, yeah. So we all raise our hands because everybody on this call. I consider you to be somebody of an innovator. You're somebody that is building something, you're bringing something to the world, and it's all driven by some desire that you have for impact. And I used to do that. Like when I first started my business, I would tell everybody, my friends, my family, and then I started getting the eye rolls, and I started getting, all the doubt and it's like, why aren't people excited about this? This just something feels off. And when I learned about diffusion of innovation, I realized like, oh, this makes sense. Like I'm speaking to the wrong people at the wrong time. And when you do that, you'll see that like anytime something's new, it's usually susceptible to a lot of scrutiny early on. And I wanted to share a couple things here. I thought that was really interesting. So this is a news clipping from December 5th, 2020, with the headline that says, "Internet may be just a passing fad as millions give up on it." Right? Could you imagine like now thinking about the internet being a fad? But people said that. It was actually in newspaper headlines that people thought the internet was just a fad.
You ever seen that clip from the Today Show when like Katie Couric and they were making fun of it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
exactly the same thing. Yeah. Sorry
yeah.
to interrupt you, but
No,
yeah, I'm with
no,
you. Yeah.
no. Please try. Like, by the way, like, chime in if you've got
Yeah.
any comments or
Yeah.
anything, because it's really fun to kind of like look back on some of this.
Yeah.
This is another one. His name, I cannot pronounce his name. I'm not even going to try. Ignaz Philip. Anyway, he was my wife actually. I had this conversation with my wife, and she brought this to my attention. She's like, the guy who created hand soap and hand washing, like the whole medical community told him that he was like rejected him, said that it was a scam. And I was like, really? So I like looked it up, and it's like there's not a lot of information out there, but I just wanted to point this out. Fact check this if you want. But this is the guy. And in the 1800s, he was a German uh, physician scientist, and he created antiseptic and hand sanitizer, hand soap, and washing hands. He was the one who brought washing hands. And the entire medical community basically told him that it was like not true and it was a scam. And like it says right here, some doctors were offended at the suggestion that they should wash their hands and mocked them for it. So even washing your hands was actually considered to be like something that like people even threw rocks at that back in the early days. And there's like tons of examples. I was telling this to Josh on a call that we had several weeks ago. We were talking about bringing this idea to him about diffusion of innovations. And I said, like you can have conversations with people and, you know, you might get this tendency or this desire to want to like bring something to the conversation that might be innovative or something you want to have some curiosity around. I used to do this in like Web3 and crypto. It's like I really am like infatuated with this technology. I think it's really interesting, despite that like a lot of people use it for the wrong reasons. But I do think the technology is really fascinating. And I would bring it up in, public settings, and immediately we'd be met with like, oh, that's just only scammers use it and da 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 and like all the scrutiny. And I realized like it was it was creating a lot of headache for me personally. So I stopped doing it. And then there was like self-driving cars. And I was like, self-driving cars, so interesting. I want to talk about this with people because I think it's really interesting. Same thing, I would bring it up and people would go, I'm just terrified. I would never get in a self-driving car. And that's when things really started to click for me about like how I'm connecting my conversations with people based on this diffusion curve. So these are just some fun things to look at. Um, this is how I see it in marketing, and this is where we'll kind of open up some conversation. This is like, I call this just like three layers of marketing. It's how I personally look at it, where you have kind of three different layers of people that you're working with. You have outsiders, insiders, and fans and clients. So your fans and your clients, like anytime, and this is my personal anecdote, whenever I am coming up with a new offer and how I approach it today. And then I can explain this to you, and then we can talk about how you use it for your own purposes or how you bring offers to the table. Anytime I'm coming up with something new, it's untested, I always start with like my fans and clients because to me, these are your early adopters. These are the people that they know you, they understand you, they're in your fourth zone. If anybody doesn't know what that means, then I suggest reading my article about the four zones of positioning because I will reference this quite a bit. They have experience working with you, and they're going to be the most forgiving. Because typically, when there's a new idea or new thing that you're doing, there's going to be some rockiness to it. So when you're bringing people in that are more early adopters, or you're communicating with the early adopters, you reduce a lot of the noise and scrutiny that comes along with it. And then insiders, these are people that might be kind of like in a gray zone where uh, they're not fully like they know you, they understand a little bit about what you do. These might be people on your email list, but they haven't like fully taken a step with you to become an actual like client, or maybe they're a raving fan, but they are open to what it is that you have to offer. So whenever I bring new offers to the table, I kind of waterfall it. I start with, my fans and my clients first. I introduce it to them. They get first dibs. If there's still any open spaces, I bring it into my early adopters on the insiders and see if there's any interest there. And then typically I never bring it to the outsiders. Like these are like this is the majority after refinement, or after you kind of cross that chasm where whatever it is that you're working on, like for me, there's some new methodology that I'm working on with Gravity Web Studio that I'm currently working through with right now with my early adopters. It's not ready to bring to the outsiders because it hasn't gone through enough refinement. So these are people that either don't know you, or there might be like a passing awareness. And the thing about is with your outsiders is that there is a higher level of scrutiny and judgment that I have observed whenever I'm communicating with people that are kind of on this outer fringe. And it's usually because there's a lack of understanding. Like they just don't understand you or what it is that you do or how you operate. So it just takes, it can take a little bit more um, working through, that awareness with them um, before they really fully understand what it is that you're about. So typically when there's lower understanding, there tends to be higher scrutiny or judgment, just kind of a human tendency. And then, communication channels. I won't get into this because this doesn't really apply. I just put these in like a file because it helps me keep it organized. But these are just like different containers of channels and how I communicate with people. So like if it's fans and clients, I'm usually in private chats or any kind of high level access with them. If it's insiders, I'm typically, people that are on my email list. There's some kind of a community container, something that requires them to opt in with me. And then outsiders, just the market, industry groups, prospects, social media. Again, these are people that might know you through a passing awareness, but they're not exactly uh, like they actually haven't taken a step to be really in your world yet. So this is how, again, I use this as a model for kind of thinking on how I communicate offers as I go through these different layers of people based on the relationship I have with them. I like to think of it like this because I see things in shapes. So I like to see circles and layers, and then I like to try to keep it simple. It's like fans and clients, there's insiders and there's outsiders. This is a new offer, so I'm keeping it contained within my fans and my clients and my insiders. And then, once there's enough refinement where it's gone through enough testing, then, maybe from there I might introduce it to the outsiders. Personally, I don't really like, I go to the outsiders just to look for people to pull to my insiders. I don't really introduce offers to outsiders because I get frustrated. Like I just get frustrated with, like this late majority, early majority crowd. Not saying they're bad people. The mindset, I just don't connect with it personally. So I pretty much just hang around here on the left side of the diffusion curve in terms of how I communicate with people. This has also led to like some decisions behind wanting to get off social media, um, and so forth. But those are personal decisions that I made. So okay, that's my spiel on diffusion of innovation. I want to just kind of like open the floor up. We just got three or four of us in here. Does anybody have any thoughts that you'd like to share?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really appreciate that. And we have talked, and that visual, I think you shared with me before, but it really stuck this time. And for me, more context for you, Scott, and I think I mentioned before, and Jake, I recently wrote a book
Mhm.
about educational leadership, and um, really trying to use that book as a platform, a jump off for putting out content about the book. It's based on 7 leadership lessons from my grandfather, and I wove it into a story. And um, so I had people who, yeah, quotes from the book, contributed, testimonies, and did all that legwork, published the book, shared it, this and that. And I'm quickly seeing like, what is it, 2.5% of the people like on this list. I'm going to go through and actually do my own math, are really like, not that they don't care, everybody cares, but they're not like what I had planned to do, and I want to speak and I want to do all these things. I think I'm wasting, I think I know I'm wasting my time worrying about, or even the time of like reaching out to some of those people. I got to narrow it down to the select few, because it might just be one or two people that can really help me, because I'm looking at building a community and being innovative in how to get the messages out, which I think are important. But then, of course, building whatever my brand and business can be to get out to schools and businesses to talk about leadership from my perspective. So that helped me, just seeing that. It kind of gave me a little bit of, I felt like I could take a deep breath, like I give myself some grace, like you beat yourself up, like, how come no one else is really into what I'm saying? I mean, this is great. This is gonna be great. Well, I got actually one or two people who are. So I'm gonna, put my stake in that in them, in the right way. So that was helpful.
Love it. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that. I mean, it's trying to bring some words to when you have something that you're really excited about and it's new and you kind of put it out to the world. And I don't know if necessarily like silence is a bad thing. Like sometimes people are just like I was saying having this conversation with Bree. I was like, it's funny like with community and like running a community and like the things I'm doing, it's like getting people just to show up is pretty challenging actually.
Sure.
It's actually
Yeah.
challenging just to because it's there's like these different currencies and right, exactly. Bree says they might be lurking, and that's very true. There's people, it's like they could be very interested in what you're doing. They're just not voicing it, you know, and they're not making it apparent. Uh, but you'd be surprised at who's paying attention.
Uh,
I had an email exchange a couple days ago with somebody who's on my email list, and she was asking me some questions. And she says, "Yeah, it probably sounds like one of those craft killers." And she repeated like because she's been reading my emails, but she's like,
oh,
I had no
oh, oh.
idea she was even engaged. Like I knew,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
but she had never said anything. But it's like she's actually repeating some of the language that I had
Yeah.
using in one of my emails, and
Hmm.
so I thought it was like, oh, that's interesting. Like she's never been in a call, she's never, but she's paying attention, and so it's I think it's I think people that are being receptive and leaning into you, I think that's definitely something to take note of because it's like clearly they're attracted to something you're doing. Why is that? What about what it is about them? What's going on in their situation? Scott, I'd love to hear from you. I know this is a topic that you've been uh, very privy to, like diffusion of innovation. How do you see it? How do you see it in your world? What kind of applications do
Sure.
you find behind it?
Um, well, I love the presentation because looking at diffusion of innovations through the lens of marketing and sales and exposure, proximity, and access can be really powerful. Um, I have an article that I wrote after the event with Nick and Laurel where Nick and Lucas talked about it that I'm happy to show the link if people would like to see it. To your point, sophisticated buyers by and large do not engage.
Mhm.
They are reading because they are, for very good reason, skeptical because there are a lot of bad actors out there. But I would say 80% of my clients who have come to me through some sort of brand marketing outreach like social media posting or even Substack by and large is brand marketing. I've never heard from them. They've never commented. They've never replied. They've never liked or shared anything I've done. So um, brand marketing and like that decision whether or not to use social media is a tricky one because it's really hard to measure the impact that it's having. Like, is it worth it? I'm with you, Jake. Like, probably not. At the same time, I get just enough feedback from people that come into my world to say, okay, well, it's worth the 15 minutes a day, that I spend there. The only thing I would like, there's the from a marketing perspective, I think of all of this as just getting the word out. And so the diffusion of innovations curve works really well with the 5 adoption decisions. Are you familiar
Mhm.
with that, Jake?
Yeah.
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 So because at each of so what the curve is saying is that every market is fractal.
Hmm.
2.5% will basically are the kind of people that will buy something because they understand it quickly because of their level of familiarity with you or their level of familiarity with whatever it is you're selling.
Yep.
The early adopters are receiving signals from the innovators, um, and will buy based on uh, that. Like, they can, like, in terms of the adoption decisions, they see the relative advantage of that the innovators are achieving. They can see that it's compatible, it aligns with like their values and the way that their identity. They can see that, based on the innovators, that it's simpler to use than other systems. If you can weave in like some triability, like you can actually try this before you buy this.
Hmm.
And then just the observability, right? Those are the 5 adoption decisions: relative advantage, compatibility, simplicity, trialability, and observability.
Oh, you still there, Scott? I think I lost
Then you can get more bang for your buck in terms of where you're meeting each segment. Like, the innovators are going to buy quickly, the early adopters are going to buy less quickly. And the other thing I loved about what you said, Jake, is crossing the chasm is a choice, and you don't have to. You can make a very good living just dealing with the innovators and early adopters.
Yep.
Bree, I can drop that link to you. It's um, Jake, you and Bree would both have access to the full article. Joshua, it's a paid article, so not,
I appreciate
I'm
it.
not going to just drop it in there because I don't want to look like I'm trying to trick you into
Yeah, no, you're good.
joining.
No. You're with the everybody on the same page here. Yeah, y'all, I gotta tell you something. This happened to me last time. Jake, if you're ever wondering like, it was really making an impact, you're helping me, man. All right. I'm sitting here, I'm a big believer, so I just like let it go a little bit. Just got an email back from all these seeds that I've been planting along the way from a professor at U of R. Read my book, gonna drop my name and information to his contacts. Boom. Literally 1 minute ago. Um, I think part of the equation too is patience, right? And you got me thinking, Scott, when you said it's like planting the seeds, the marketing, like, and people who are waiting and lurking, right? Like they want to see, and I believe, I hope, right, that if the few people who champion what you're trying to do, and then they see it, all those seeds that you did plant will either come along, right, because they're waiting to see, or they'll still maybe they're the naysayers, and that's fine, like whatever. But anyway, I had to share that, y'all. Just came through an email. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, consistency in terms of like continuing to show up. I was thinking about this before even the call started. I was like, I don't know who's going to show up today. There's always like a little bit, especially like in the very beginning, and you're like, you click the Zoom and you open it up, and then the time comes and you're thinking to yourself like, who's going to show up today? Like, what if nobody shows up and I'm just by myself? And and then I thought about that, and there was this moment of, well, what's the worst that could happen? Nobody shows up, and I I exit out and I go on with my day. Okay,
Yeah.
not much downside. If one person shows up, then I'm going to show up for them as if 20 people were to show up. It doesn't really matter, as long as somebody shows up. And people are attracted to people that take action. Like people really will grab. I've noticed that myself. It's like when somebody is an action taker and they're doing the thing and they're out there working and they're serving, people go, you know what? I want to be near that person. I want to be in that person's world. And I think that's where like the collective momentum really kicks in, because when you start getting a room full of action takers together
Yeah.
and everybody's like moving forward, it rubs off on you even more and makes you even like yes, like we're all building together. And that's just that's the vision I see. That's what I see for people that are in my world and people that are out there. It's like, the more collective momentum we can build amongst one another, it's going to lead to some, I think, some really cool success that all works in our own ways. So people that are community leaders, people that are putting out, content that's helpful, useful, connecting, having those conversations. Yeah. So Scott says, as a recovering musician, I'm very familiar with the sound of one fan. Yeah, I bet that was tough getting on the stage and you go into your set and it's like, what if people don't like it? What if one person claps or nobody claps? And um, what's that Seneca quote? We suffer more from imagination than we do reality, right? Bree, what are your thoughts? You got anything to contribute on this topic?
My brain's still booting today, but just 100% across the board on everything y'all are saying. I love it.
Yeah.
Really love it.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think at least the way I see it is just being intentional about, or I guess thoughtful about who you're speaking to and in what context and in what situation. I remember like internet marketing days early on. It's like whenever you have a new offer, you need to like launch it and you need to create this sequence of announcements and um on social media and really hype it up. And I guess that works for some people. I found it to invite a lot of like distraction, noise, and things that really threw me off my track. Um, and I was like, why does this feel so misaligned? And I just didn't know why. But something felt very misaligned about it. Um, and it really kind of got down to was maybe it's a readiness factor. Maybe we're just, you're not, or it also could be that, uh, it's not like why do you have to do that? Why do you have to if it doesn't feel aligned, why are you taking this action? So Scott says I learned from Seth Godin who had treat different people differently. He also says choose your customers, choose your future. Yeah. Yeah, that's very good advice. Definitely 100% there. Good insight.
That's one of the benefits of getting off social media, I think, is that people on social media are there to be distracted. They're there to actually procrastinate and not accomplish things. And if
Yeah.
like if that's the kind of person you want to work with, then great place to be. But if it's not the kind of person you want to work with, like that's like for you, Joshua, it might be really hard to leverage Facebook because most people that self-identify as professional and leaders are not thinking around on Facebook.
That's really appreciate that. I've been vacillating about, so I dropped my Twitter account, right? I was like, no more of that, X, whatever. And I don't miss it, right? Um, and then Facebook's my thing, and I got LinkedIn and it's a little Instagram. Are you completely off 100%? No platforms?
So I'm not active. It's an open loop right now for me. I got this calling to step away from it. I was just
Yeah.
doing some reflection because I'm pretty, I mean, I've been off and on for like 6 years, like heavy on social media. And Scott makes a really good point, and I really appreciate his insight from earlier when he was talking about how there are people out there, like kind of more of the sophisticated customer that is more discerning. They're not necessarily engaging, but they are watching and they are paying attention. Um, so when you do put stuff out there, it's like all of a sudden you'll get a message from somebody. It's like
Uh-huh.
this person you never comment on any of my stuff or like any of my stuff, but now you're interested in working with me.
Huh.
And so you never know who you're at. It's tough to measure.
Yeah.
It is tough to measure. I think my measurement came from kind of like what Scott said just a minute ago about there's a lot people go to social media to be distracted. Usually like they're on because they're bored and like, whatever it is, they're sitting in a doctor's office, they're on the toilet, they're doing
Yeah.
whatever it is. They're just like they need something to fill their head with information. So it's low intent. So the tent's really low. They don't really know what they're looking for. They're just scrolling and they're consuming 1,000 pieces of content a day. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, my job here is to try to penetrate that state of distraction to try to get some attention. And that's like the realization I had from it, for myself. And there was effort that was put in there. I was like, right now, my thing is conversations, community building, collaborations. Like that's what I want to do. Those are the kind of
Yeah.
people I want to work with. And maybe that makes sense maybe social media makes sense, but right now I just don't see a place for it.
Yeah.
I need to
No,
step.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do any of you have a YouTube channel? And what do you okay, that's something I've considered to be not social media and place I can put my content. Feedback on that, advice, insight?
Well, I'll hop in.
Yeah.
I'm still really new. Well, okay, I've been on there like a year, maybe longer. Um, I'm not trying to maximize for growth necessarily, but speaking to my whatever you want to call the ideal client. And I'm finding some growth there. And I think one of you said, maybe it was Scott, that it's like a search engine.
Mhm.
So that can help propel our information forward. So when people are searching for that kind of content, they might, accidentally run into our video,
Hmm.
So just my little bit on that.
No, that's helpful. Thanks, Bree. You have a YouTube page, Scott? Site?
I've had one for a while, and I'm not what um, this ties into something I wanted to share about Facebook and Instagram as well. It's what I have. So when I post my articles, links to my articles on Facebook, it gets almost zero traffic because nobody goes to Facebook to say, please educate me, oh wise one, about all of your wonderful knowledge. But what I've started to do with this, because I run my articles kind of like in series, and I'm targeting young people with kind of the whole commencement thing, like, hey, how are you thinking about the next stage of your life? And I do I share them as reels one day and then stories the next day, and it's just 30 seconds, 45 seconds of here's one intriguing idea, just me in my car at my desk.
Okay.
Those are getting um, significant. I'm getting significant clicks from those videos to my article, and in general, so like to apply that to the YouTube side, I can put those same um, videos up as YouTube shorts, and those videos, like if I get 100 views on a short, it's like a huge deal to me. Most of my last 10 shorts have gotten over 1,000 views.
Wow.
And there's a link to the article
Okay.
in the YouTube video. When it comes to like longer form YouTube content, which is what I prefer to do, I would just share that um I would think of it in, like Bree said, like YouTube is not social media, it's a search engine and it's owned by Google. So it will improve, like if you are strategic about um your keywords and the SEO that you're baking into your titles and your um and this is something I've only been doing recently, so I don't have great numbers to share, but your descriptions and so forth. And if you take the time to, and I use ChatGPT to timestamp the videos because I do like generally like 60 to 90-minute trainings.
Okay.
Um, but what happens is I can have shorts that bring up a longer training, a related training, and so I'm
Oh,
able to, and so it's not significant traffic, but it is very high, like to what Jake was saying earlier, it's very high intent. Like if you are looking for like, how do I make decisions better? Here's Scott talking
yeah.
about something in his car, and here's a 90-minute training on it.
Okay.
Those people will, the way I think, I don't think in terms of funnels, I think in terms of webs, and Jake could speak to this more eloquently than I, because we learned it from Nick, but wherever you land, like if you're on Facebook, I want you to watch all my reels. If you are on YouTube, I want you to watch as many videos as you can stand. If you are on my Substack, I want you to read as many articles. But it's, if you're going to do anything that takes you off the platform where you collided with me, I want you on my Substack, because now I have your email address and now I can have that more, um, Seth Godin calls it permission marketing, anticipated personal relevant conversation with you. And so once you're on my Substack, you're automatically a prospect. And then I use my free subscribers who become paid subscribers. Those are my leads. I only sell to my paid subscribers. Because if you're just learning about me for the first time, you're not ready for me. Like there's just no way you're going to be able to handle working with me. So just like being really strategic, and maybe also thinking about how can you repurpose content. Like if you record a video, like do a live training, capture attention in a live training, repurpose the video for SEO and search, repurpose that as as an audio for a podcast, transcribe it for an article. Like you can do one training and get 12 pieces of content out of it.
Right.
And
Right.
that's a huge time savings, because it
Yeah.
takes, doesn't matter how good you are at what you do, it takes time to present.
That's right. I fell off there for a second. And sorry if you said this, but you having a YouTube channel, the access to the YouTube, you do have like a Facebook platform or LinkedIn or something you say, and then that people can access it through that, or how do you get the YouTube channels out to the public?
I just let YouTube handle that. YouTube, people go to YouTube to search,
Okay,
and so, and I just,
I
like,
see.
if I do any advertising on there, I just steal audiences from people that have the people that I want. Like Dan Coe would be a perfect example of, like, if you like Dan Coe, but it's not working for you, then maybe I'll work for you. So I just, I'll try to rob audiences from other people if I'm doing that. But in general, I'm just relying on people will go on and search, brand marketing versus direct marketing. And if they
Right.
do, I have a chance of getting one of my videos in their search results.
Okay. No, that's a good way for me to transition from this. I'm really thinking about getting off of social media and just it's a time waster. It's not my, yeah.
Well, just one last thing, because this came up for me, because when I was like a guitar teacher, like most of my um, students were kids, but the customer was actually their parents. So I just leveraged social media so that I was targeting to what parents, like, hey, parents, did you know that learning to play a guitar will improve your kids' math scores, science scores, languages ability, social, EQ, and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And so, like, you could target, like, and I've done this with in your kind of market where I'll target the spouses, and the spouse will share my content with the person I actually want to work with.
Yeah.
And it's again hard, like impossible to measure, but it you can't, like, you have to understand what the platform is for
Mhm.
and make it work for you. Like if you just like, because I've done it, like I just want to make Facebook work the way I want it to work for me, and that's not built that way. But if I give Facebook what it wants, which is content, especially video content, and I target the people that are going to be there, but who might be connected adjacent to the people I want to work with, I have a chance through sharing and so forth to make that happen. So it's just something maybe to consider trying before you hop off altogether.
Yeah.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
on the fence. I'm with Jake. Like I have my accounts, but I'm not. I spend no time there.
Okay. No, appreciate it.
15
Thank you.
minutes a day.
I'm gonna show you real quick. Speaking of YouTube, I'm just gonna share my screen. So this was a video. This was the last call on red flags, green flags. So I posted to YouTube, and I'm like, this like getting views. On where are these views coming from? Because I hadn't shared it with anybody. And I'm not, and I even said this earlier on, so I'm not actually trying to get like big reach out of YouTube. It's more just as a window into the conversations we're having with people that's interested. So this is the analytics from it, and you can see like it got 1,800 impressions, 18 view. Did not optimize it at all for reach. I just like literally threw like a simple thumbnail, and so I started looking into it. I was like, what's going on here? And because of the name red flags, green flags, these are the videos. Now he really crossed the line. I don't tell men like all these like triggering, polarizing content is like sharing my video for some reason because it has red flags in it. So I didn't realize that like that would happen when I because I'm still kind of new to YouTube. Like this is just I just started putting this out there, and I started noticing that people were viewing it, and it's because like Scott said, it's a search engine, and people are searching for stuff, and YouTube's like, oh, here's a video about. I don't know if it's like because clearly we're not talking about anything polarizing on these calls, but for some reason that polarizing content was like sharing my video to that audience, I guess thinking that, here's some more polarizing content because the title Red Flags was in there. So I'll have to remember that as I'm titling videos to make sure that I'm not getting, you know, some of the audiences like that. That's not the audience I want for sure. Um, anyway, just wanted to share that with you, Joshua, because like I said, it is a search engine, and when you do put a video out there, um, it will certainly pick up in search result based on how it's set up.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
yeah. All right. Well, great call. Appreciate everybody's contribution. Hopefully you walked away with some insight here that can be helpful. And I don't have anything else unless anybody else wants to ask a final question or make a final comment. Otherwise, we'll wrap up here. Good. Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, y'all enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you on the next one. All right. Bye.